The space around Centauri Prime had been quiet for 3 months. No human ships had been seen since the day the aliens destroyed the diplomatic vessel. The Centauri government thought the matter was closed. They believed humans were too weak and scared to return. They were wrong. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Guardian, watching the alien world grow bigger on his screen. The massive battleship had just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations with calm focus. They all knew why they were here. Long-range sensors show multiple orbital platforms around. "The planet," reported Lieutenant Susan Parker from her console. "Looks like they have about 50 defense stations in high orbit." Jake nodded, but said nothing. The Guardian was 2 kilometers long and packed with technology the aliens had never seen. The orbital platforms would not be a problem if things went badly. "Any response to our arrival?" Jake asked. Communications Officer Danny Ross shook his head. "Nothing yet, sir, but I'm picking up a lot of chatter on their military frequencies. They know we're here." The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Through the main view screen, Centauri Prime looked peaceful. It was hard to believe this world had ordered the murder of 47 humans just 3 months ago. The diplomatic ship had been called the Peaceful Dawn. It carried no weapons and had been on a simple trade mission. The Centauri had destroyed it without warning, claiming humans were too primitive to deserve diplomatic status. They said it was like talking to animals. Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared on the communication screen from Earth Command. Her expression was hard as stone. "Guardian, you have full authority to proceed as planned. Show them what happens when they mistake our patience for weakness." "Understood, Admiral," Jake replied. "We'll handle this carefully." "Carefully, but firmly," Lisa added. "The entire galaxy is watching to see how we respond. Some species think we're too soft to defend ourselves. Others wonder if we're more dangerous than we appear. Today, they get their answer." The screen went dark, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. He had served in the Earth Navy for 15 years, but this was different. This was not just about one ship or one crew. This was about humanity's place in the galaxy. The Guardian moved slowly through the outer system, its sensors recording everything. The ship's computer analyzed every piece of data about Centauri defenses, military bases, and fleet positions. Knowledge was power, and humans had learned to gather both very carefully. "Sir, we're getting multiple scanning attempts," reported Science Officer Patricia Lee. "Their sensors are trying to penetrate our hull, but our stealth systems are holding." "Let them scan," Jake said. "They won't learn anything useful." The Guardian's stealth technology was far beyond what most alien species possessed. The ship could be completely invisible when needed, or it could appear exactly as threatening as the situation required. Right now, Jake wanted the Centauri to see them coming. Commander Ryan Clark looked up from his tactical station. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. Looks like they're powering up their planetary defense grid." "Expected," Jake replied. "They're scared." "Good." The ship continued its approach, maintaining a steady course toward the planet. On the view screen, Centauri Prime grew larger with each passing minute. The world was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents much like Earth. It was too bad its people had chosen war over peace. Lieutenant Amy Foster, the ship's defensive systems officer, monitored her displays carefully. "All defensive systems are ready, Captain. If they try anything, we can handle it." Jake knew the Guardian's capabilities better than anyone. The ship had been designed specifically for this type of mission. It could fight an entire fleet if necessary, but that was not the plan. Sometimes the threat of overwhelming force was more effective than using it. "Long-range communications coming in," Danny announced. "It's from the Centauri government." "Put it through," Jake ordered. The view screen flickered, showing a tall alien with gray skin and large black eyes. The creature wore elaborate robes that marked him as a high-ranking official. When he spoke, the ship's computer translated his words into English. Unknown human vessel, you are not welcome in Zentari space. Turn around and leave immediately, or face the consequences. Jake stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Ship Guardian. We are here to discuss the unprovoked attack on our diplomatic vessel 3 months ago. The alien's expression did not change. There is nothing to discuss. Your species is primitive and has no standing in galactic affairs. Leave now. I'm afraid that's not going to happen, Jake replied calmly. The alien made a gesture that the computer translated as extreme displeasure. You dare threaten us? We have destroyed one of your ships already. We can destroy another. Jake smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You destroyed an unarmed diplomatic vessel carrying scientists and trade representatives. This is something very different. The communication ended abruptly as the alien cut the connection. On the bridge, several crew members exchanged glances. They all knew what would happen next. Captain, I'm reading energy spikes from multiple locations around the planet, Patricia reported. Looks like they're charging their main defense systems. And their fleet? Jake asked. Ryan checked his displays. 12 battle groups are moving to intercept us. That's roughly 90 ships total. 90 ships against one, mused Jake. They really don't understand what they're dealing with. The Guardian continued its approach, seemingly unconcerned by the growing alien response. To outside observers, it looked like humanity had sent a single battleship to face an entire planetary defense system. The appearance was intentional. Lieutenant Kelly Martin, the navigation officer, looked up from her station. Captain, we'll reach optimal position in 40 minutes. Maintain current course and speed, Jake ordered, and send a message to the rest of the task force. Tell them to hold position and wait for my signal. Danny nodded and began transmitting the coded message. To any alien listening, it would sound like random static. But 7 other ships, currently invisible in the outer system, received the message clearly. The Guardian was not alone. It had never been alone, but the galaxy would not learn that until the right moment. As the massive human battleship approached Zentari Prime, governments across the galaxy watched and waited. Some hoped to see humanity humbled. Others feared what might happen if Earth decided to show its true strength. None of them were prepared for what was about to unfold. The age of underestimating humanity was about to end, and it would end with a demonstration that no one would ever forget. The Guardian flew on, steady and determined, carrying with it the hopes and anger of an entire species. In 40 minutes, the galaxy would learn that humans were done asking politely for respect. The Guardian reached its position exactly 40 minutes later, just as planned. The massive human battleship stopped moving and hung in space like a dark promise. Captain Jake Morrison had chosen the location carefully. The ship was close enough to be clearly threatening, but far enough away to avoid any immediate attack. All stop, ordered Jake. Hold position here, Lieutenant Kelly Martin confirmed the order. Holding position at current coordinates, sir. From this distance, Zentari Prime filled most of the main view screen. The planet's orbital defense platforms were clearly visible, spinning slowly around the world like deadly metal moons. Each platform was roughly the size of a small city and packed with enough weapons to destroy a normal fleet. Sir, we're being scanned again, reported Science Officer Patricia Lee. Much more intensive this time. They're really trying to figure out what we are. Let them look, Jake replied. They won't find anything they can understand. The Guardian's hull was made from materials that had never been seen before in the galaxy. Human scientists had spent decades developing new alloys and composites that could withstand forces that would tear other ships apart. More importantly, the hull was designed to confuse alien sensors. Communications Officer Danny Ross looked up from his station. Captain, I'm monitoring Zentari military communications. They're arguing about what to do with us. What are they saying? Most of their commanders want to attack immediately, but their high command is being more careful. They're worried this might be a trap. Jake nodded. Smart aliens were always more dangerous than stupid ones, but they were also more predictable. Fear made them cautious, and caution would give him the time he needed. Any word from their government? Nothing official, but I'm picking up a lot of emergency broadcasts to other worlds. They're calling for help. That was interesting. The Zentari were proud and aggressive, not the type to ask for assistance easily. If they were calling their allies, they were more worried than they wanted to admit. Commander Ryan Clark checked his tactical displays. Captain, the first battle group will reach us in 6 hours. The others are coming from further out, so they'll arrive over the next 12 hours. Perfect timing, Jake said. That gives us exactly what we need. The bridge crew continued their work, but Jake could sense their tension. They all knew the plan, but that did not make waiting any easier. For the next 48 hours, they would do nothing but sit in space and let the aliens worry. Lieutenant Amy Foster monitored the defensive systems. All shields are ready, Captain. If they try a long-range attack, we can handle it. They won't attack yet, Jake replied. They want to gather their full fleet first. No alien commander wants to be the one who attacked a human ship with insufficient force. The destruction of the peaceful dawn had taught the galaxy something important about human reactions. Humans did not forget attacks on their people, and they did not forgive easily. The smart aliens were wondering what kind of response Earth had prepared. Hours passed slowly. The Guardian remained perfectly still, its systems humming quietly while the crew waited. On the main screen, Zentari Prime continued its slow rotation, showing different continents as the day progressed. Sir, we're getting communication requests. Every few minutes, Danny reported. All from Zentari officials. Should I respond to any of them? Not yet, Jake said. Let them wonder what we're planning. Silence was a weapon that humans had learned to use very effectively. Most alien species could not stand uncertainty and would fill quiet moments with chatter. Humans were different. They could wait as long as necessary, and their patience often unnerved their enemies. Patricia looked up from her science station. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting movement throughout the system. Looks like they're evacuating non-essential personnel from their orbital platforms. How many platforms total? 52 in orbit around the planet, plus another 20 around the outer moons. Each one appears to be heavily armed. Ryan checked his tactical analysis. Based on their design, I estimate each platform has enough firepower to destroy about 6 normal ships. Together, they could probably handle a fleet of 300 vessels. Good thing we're not a normal ship, Jake replied calmly. The Guardian's true capabilities were still unknown to the galaxy. Human engineers had made several breakthrough discoveries in the past decade, and none of that information had been shared with other species. The aliens were about to get their first real look at what Earth could build when it chose to. More hours passed. The Zentari fleet continued to gather, with ships arriving from across their territory. Each new arrival was bigger and more impressive than the last, as the aliens tried to create an overwhelming show of force. Current count is 68 ships, Ryan reported. More are still coming. Any response from other governments? Jake asked. Danny nodded. We're intercepting diplomatic messages across the galaxy. The Karathi Empire is recalling their trade missions from Earth. The Vegan Federation has suspended all human shipping. Contracts. Even the Proxima Elders are discussing the situation. That was exactly what Earth Command had wanted. For too long, humanity had been seen as the newest and weakest member of the galactic community. Other species had treated human diplomats with polite condescension, like adults talking to children. The destruction of the peaceful dawn had been the final insult. The Zentari had not just killed 47 humans. They had sent a message to the entire galaxy that human lives did not matter. That message needed to be corrected. Sir, the first battle group has arrived, Amy announced. On the tactical display, 12 Zentari warships took positions around the Guardian. Each ship was about half the size of the human vessel, but they moved with the precision of an experienced military force. "Beautiful ships," Jake commented, studying their formation. "Well-designed, properly armed, and competently commanded." "Not worried, sir?" asked Kelly. Jake smiled. "Not even a little bit." The Guardian's sensors automatically began analyzing the alien vessels, recording their weapon systems, shield configurations, defensive capabilities, and structural weak points. Within minutes, the ship's computer had identified 17 different ways to destroy each enemy vessel. More ships arrived throughout the day. The Zentari were clearly bringing everything they had, determined to make an overwhelming show of force. By the end of the first day, 96 warships surrounded the lone human battleship. "Impressive fleet," Ryan observed. "They've got us outnumbered 96-1. "Do they?" Jake asked quietly. Several bridge officers exchanged glances at that comment, but no one asked what he meant. They all knew that Captain Morrison never said anything without a good reason. As the second day began, the Guardian continued its silent vigil. The ship had not moved, had not responded to communications, and had not shown any sign of aggression. To the watching aliens, it must have seemed like the humans were paralyzed by fear. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Captain," Danny announced, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the Zentari fleet commander. He's demanding we respond immediately." Jake stood up from his command chair and straightened his uniform. "Put him through. I think we've kept them waiting long enough. It was time to begin the real conversation." The main view screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of a Zentari command ship. The alien who appeared was clearly a military leader, with ceremonial scars marking his gray skin and the elaborate uniform of a fleet admiral. His black eyes showed both anger and confusion as he stared at the human captain. "I am Fleet Admiral Zexkar of the Zentari Defense Force," the alien announced. "You have ignored our communications for 2 full days. This disrespect will not be tolerated." Captain Jake Morrison stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back. He looked completely calm, as if facing a fleet of 96 warships was something he did every day. "Admiral Zexkar," Jake replied politely. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Guardian. We have been waiting for you to assemble your full fleet before beginning our discussion." The alien's expression showed surprise. "Waiting for us? You are surrounded and outnumbered. You should be begging for mercy." "Should I?" Jake asked. "That's interesting. Tell me, Admiral, what happened to the last human ship that entered your space 3 months ago?" Zexkar's eyes narrowed. "The primitive vessel was destroyed for violating our territory. Zentari space is forbidden to inferior species." "Inferior species," Jake repeated slowly, as if tasting the words. "The Peaceful Dawn was carrying 47 humans, scientists, diplomats, trade specialists, all unarmed, all peaceful. You murdered them without warning." "We eliminated a nuisance," the alien replied coldly. "Nothing more." Jake nodded as if this was exactly what he had expected to hear. Around the bridge, his crew continued their work with professional calm. None of them seemed worried about the overwhelming odds they faced. "Thank you for clarifying that, Admiral," Jake said. "Now let me clarify something for you. Those 47 humans had families. They had friends. They had hopes and dreams and people who loved them. When you murdered them, you declared war on the human species." Zexkar made a sound that the computer translated as laughter. "War? You have 1 ship against 96. This is not war. This is execution." "We'll see," Jake replied calmly. The connection ended as the alien admiral cut the transmission. On the bridge of the Guardian, several officers looked at their captain with concern. The enemy fleet was now in perfect attack formation, and their weapons were clearly charging for battle. "Sir, all enemy vessels are powering up their main guns," reported Commander Ryan Clark from his tactical station. "Energy readings suggest they're preparing for coordinated strikes." How long until they're ready to fire? Jake asked. Approximately 3 minutes, sir. Jake turned to Lieutenant Amy Foster at the Defensive Systems console. Amy, please activate our shields. Yes, sir, she replied, her fingers dancing across her controls. What happened next had never been seen before in galactic history. Instead of the normal energy barrier that most ships used for protection, something extraordinary emerged from the Guardian's hull. A shimmering field of energy expanded outward from the ship, growing larger and larger until it formed a sphere nearly 1,000 kilometers across. The alien fleet found itself inside this energy field, completely surrounded by the human defensive system. On their ships, alarms began sounding as their instruments detected energy readings that made no scientific sense. Admiral, one of Zexkar's officers reported in panic. The human shield is surrounding our entire fleet. We're trapped inside it. Zexkar stared at his displays in disbelief. That's impossible. No single ship can generate a defensive field this large. Inside the Guardian's bridge, Jake watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The new shield technology was one of humanity's greatest achievements, developed in secret over the past 5 years. It didn't just stop enemy weapons, it created a controlled space where humans could dictate the terms of any battle. Defensive field is stable and holding, Amy reported. All systems operating within normal parameters. Excellent work, Jake replied. Danny, open a channel to the entire Zentari fleet. Communications Officer Danny Ross nodded. Channel open, sir. You're broadcasting to all 96 ships. Jake stepped forward so that every alien in the fleet could see him clearly. When he spoke, his voice was calm but carried the weight of absolute authority. Zentari fleet, this is Captain Morrison. You are now completely contained within our defensive system. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your ships cannot escape. And your communications with the outside galaxy have been severed. You are at our mercy. On the alien ships, panic began to spread. Officers tried desperately to contact their home world, but their signals could not pass through the human energy field. They were cut off from everything beyond the sphere. However, Jake continued, we are not like you. We do not murder helpless enemies. You will be given the same choice you offered our diplomatic mission 3 months ago. Admiral Zexkar appeared on the communication screen again, his face showing fear for the first time. What do you want, human? Surrender your fleet for processing, or be destroyed, Jake replied, using the exact words the aliens had used before attacking the Peaceful Dawn. You have exactly 1 hour to decide. This is impossible, Zexkar sputtered. No single ship can defeat an entire fleet. You're right, Jake agreed. No single ship could do this. He made a gesture to Science Officer Patricia Lee, who began entering commands into her console. Patricia, please decloak the rest of our task force. What happened next sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. The Guardian's advanced sensors had been hiding the truth since their arrival. The human ship had never been alone. One by one, 6 more massive battleships appeared around the Zentari fleet. Each was as large and threatening as the Guardian, and each had been completely invisible to alien sensors until this moment. The humans had not sent 1 ship to face 96 enemies. They had sent 7. Impossible, Zexkar whispered. Our sensors showed only 1 vessel. Your sensors showed what we wanted them to show, Jake replied. Human stealth technology is somewhat more advanced than you realized. The appearance of the additional ships changed everything. The Zentari had thought they were facing a single, desperate vessel. Instead, they found themselves trapped inside a human defensive field, surrounded by 7 of the most advanced warships ever built. Commander Ryan Clark updated his tactical analysis. Sir, we now have complete tactical superiority. Enemy ships are trapped, outnumbered, and outgunned. And they know it, Jake replied, watching the communication channels fill with panicked alien voices. Lieutenant Kelly Martin looked up from her navigation station. "Captain, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 enemy vessels. Their commanders want to negotiate individually." "Tell them all negotiations must go through Admiral Zexkar," Jake replied. "We deal with their command structure, not individual ships." The hour deadline Jake had given them was not random. It was exactly the same amount of time the Zentari had given the Peaceful Dawn before opening fire. The parallel was intentional, and every alien in the fleet understood. The message: human memory was long, and human justice was patient but inevitable. 30 minutes remaining, Amy announced. On the alien ships, arguments broke out between officers who wanted to fight and those who wanted to surrender. Some crews began preparing for battle, while others started powering down their weapons. The Zentari fleet was falling apart from within. Admiral Zexkar reappeared on the communication screen. His proud demeanor was gone, replaced by the desperate look of a commander who had finally realized he was completely outmatched. "Captain Morrison," he said quietly, "perhaps we can discuss terms." Jake smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "The time for discussion was 3 months ago, Admiral. Your people chose murder instead. Now you face the consequences of that choice." The galaxy was watching, even if they didn't know it yet. Every word of this confrontation was being recorded by the Guardian systems. Soon, every government in known space would see exactly what happened when someone decided to test human resolve. The age of treating humanity as a minor species was ending, 1 minute at a time. The final 15 minutes passed in tense silence. Throughout the trapped Zentari fleet, crews waited for orders that never came. Admiral Zexkar sat in his command chair, staring at displays that showed his complete helplessness. His 96 ships were the finest vessels in Zentari space, crewed by their best warriors, armed with their most powerful weapons. None of it mattered now. Captain Jake Morrison stood calmly on the Guardian's bridge, watching the countdown. Timer reached 0. Around him, his crew maintained their professional focus, but he could sense their satisfaction. Justice was finally being served for the 47 humans who had died aboard the Peaceful Dawn. "Time's up," announced Lieutenant Amy Foster. Jake stepped forward to address the alien fleet one final time. "Admiral Zexkar, your hour has expired. What is your decision?" The alien commander appeared on the main screen, his gray skin looking pale and defeated. The proud warrior who had boasted about destroying human ships was gone, replaced by someone who finally understood what real power looked like. "The Zentari fleet surrenders unconditionally," Zexkar said quietly. "We submit to your terms." "Wise choice," Jake replied. "All Zentari vessels will power down their weapons immediately and prepare to be boarded for inspection." Across the alien fleet, weapon systems went dark as the ships complied with human demands. The most powerful military force in Zentari space had been neutralized without firing a single shot. It was a lesson that would echo throughout the galaxy, for generations. Communications Officer Danny Ross looked up from his station. "Sir, we're receiving priority transmissions from multiple governments. Everyone wants to know what's happening here." "Let them wonder for now," Jake replied. "We'll make our announcement when we're ready." The real purpose of this mission was not just to punish the Zentari. It was to send a message to every species in the galaxy that humanity was no longer the weak newcomer they could push around. The demonstration here would prevent future attacks and save human lives across known space. Science Officer Patricia Lee began coordinating the inspection teams. "Sir, our boarding parties are ready to begin examining the alien vessels." "What are we looking for specifically?" "Evidence," Jake replied. "Communications logs, battle records, anything that shows this attack was planned at the highest levels of their government. We want the galaxy to know this wasn't the action of a few rogue commanders." The inspection of the Zentari fleet took 6 hours. Human teams moved through the alien ships with professional efficiency, copying databanks and interviewing crew members. What they found exceeded their worst expectations. Commander Ryan Clark compiled the evidence on his tactical display. Captain, the attack on the Peaceful Dawn was approved by the Zentari High Council. They have similar plans for attacking human colonies and trade routes. This was meant to be the beginning of a systematic campaign to drive humanity out of this sector. Jake studied the data with growing anger. The aliens had not just killed 47 humans. They had been planning to kill thousands more. The Peaceful Dawn had been a test to see how Earth would respond to aggression. "How many other species have they done this to?" Jake asked. Patricia checked her analysis. Based on their records, the Zentari have destroyed ships from at least 12 different civilizations over the past decade. Most were smaller species that couldn't fight back effectively. "Bullies," Jake said with disgust. "They pick on anyone they think is weak." The evidence changed everything. This was not about one incident or one destroyed ship. The Zentari were systematic predators who used their military power to terrorize smaller civilizations. Humanity had just happened to be their latest target. Lieutenant Kelly Martin looked up from her navigation console. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Carter wants to speak with you privately." Jake nodded and moved to his ready room, where he could take the call without the bridge crew listening. Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared on his personal screen, and her expression was grimmer than usual. "Jake, we've been monitoring your progress. How bad is it?" "Worse than we thought, Admiral. The Zentari have been planning a systematic campaign against human settlements. The Peaceful Dawn was just their opening move." Lisa's jaw tightened. "Then, we respond accordingly. You have full authorization to make an example that the entire galaxy will remember." "Understood," Jake replied. "What about the other governments? Are they taking notice?" "Every major power is watching this situation closely. The Karathi Empire has recalled their ambassador from Earth. The Vegan Federation is reconsidering all their human trade agreements. Even the Proxima Elders are discussing contingency plans. That was exactly what Earth Command had hoped for. Sometimes the best way to prevent future wars was to demonstrate overwhelming strength in the present conflict. Admiral, I'd like to make a public broadcast to the entire galaxy. Let everyone know what we found and why we responded this way." "Approved," Lisa replied immediately. "Show them that humanity is no longer asking for respect. We're demanding it." Jake returned to the bridge where his crew was waiting. The inspection of the Zentari fleet was complete, and the evidence of their crimes was overwhelming. It was time to share that evidence with the galaxy. "Danny, I want you to establish communication links with every major government in known space. This message needs to reach everyone." "Yes, sir. Setting up galaxy-wide transmission now." While Danny worked on the communications array, Jake prepared his statement. This would be humanity's formal announcement that they were no longer content to be the galaxy's newest and weakest member. "Transmission ready, Captain. You're broadcasting to 47 different governments across known space." Jake stepped forward, knowing that his next words would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. "Citizens of the galaxy, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Guardian. 3 months ago, the Zentari Defense Force destroyed a human diplomatic vessel called the Peaceful Dawn, killing 47 unarmed civilians. Today we discovered that this attack was not an isolated incident." The bridge was completely silent as Jake continued his broadcast. "Our inspection of the Zentari fleet has revealed evidence of systematic attacks against smaller civilizations across this sector. The Zentari government has been using their military power to terrorize and murder innocent beings from dozens of species. They believed humanity would be their next easy target." Jake paused, letting the implications sink in across the galaxy. They were wrong. Humanity will no longer tolerate attacks on our people or our allies. We have the technology, the resolve, and the military capability to protect ourselves and others from predators like the Zentari. Commander Ryan Clark updated the tactical display to show the 7 human battleships surrounding the defeated alien fleet. The Zentari fleet has surrendered unconditionally and will face trial for their crimes. Their government will pay reparations to the families of every human they murdered, and their military will be restructured under galactic supervision to prevent future aggression. Jake's voice grew harder as he delivered the final part of his message. Let this serve as notice to all civilizations. Earth seeks peaceful coexistence and mutual prosperity with all species. But we will defend ourselves and our allies with overwhelming force when necessary. The age of treating humanity as a minor power is over. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy to process what they had just heard. For the first time in galactic history, humanity had publicly demonstrated military superiority over an established power. The reactions began almost immediately. Government communications channels filled with urgent messages as alien leaders tried to understand what this meant for the balance of power in the galaxy. "Sir," Danny reported, "we're receiving responses from multiple governments. The Karathi want to establish formal diplomatic relations. The Vegans are offering exclusive trade partnerships. Even the Proxima elders have sent a message requesting direct talks." Jake smiled as he watched the communication board light up with incoming messages from across the galaxy. Respect, it seemed, was something that had to be earned rather than asked for. "Set course for Earth," he ordered. "I think we've made our point here." The 7 human battleships began moving away from Zentari Prime, their mission complete. Behind them, they left a galaxy that would never again mistake human patience for human weakness. The journey back to Earth took 12 days, but the effects of the Guardians' mission spread across the galaxy in hours. On every major world, governments held emergency meetings to discuss what humanity's display of power meant for their own security and trade relationships. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his ready room, reviewing reports from intelligence sources throughout known space. The response to their actions at Zentari Prime had been immediate and dramatic. Some governments were terrified, others were impressed, and a few were already trying to figure out how to use this new information to their advantage. A soft chime indicated someone was requesting entry to his quarters. "Come in," Jake called. Commander Ryan Clark entered, carrying a data pad filled with the latest intelligence reports. His expression was serious but satisfied, like a man who had just witnessed history being made. "Captain, you need to see these communication intercepts. The entire galaxy is talking about what happened at Zentari Prime." Jake accepted the data pad and began reading. The first report was from the Karathi Empire, humanity's longtime rivals in the Outer Rim territories. The Karathi had always viewed humans as upstart newcomers who needed to be kept in their place. Their tone had changed completely. "The Karathi High Command is recommending immediate diplomatic overtures to Earth," Jake read aloud. "They want to establish formal peace treaties and discuss border agreements." "It gets better," Ryan said with a grin. "The Vegan Trade Federation has offered to give humanity exclusive shipping rights through their space lanes. That's worth about 50 billion credits annually in reduced transport costs." Jake continued reading, finding similar reports from governments across the galaxy. Species that had ignored human diplomatic requests for years were suddenly eager to establish formal relationships. The change was remarkable and immediate. A communication alert sounded, indicating an incoming priority message from Earth Command. Jake activated his personal screen and Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared. She looked pleased, which was unusual for someone known for her stern demeanor. "Jake, congratulations on a job well done. The diplomatic implications of your mission are already exceeding our best projections." "Thank you, Admiral. What's the current situation back home?" "Earth is receiving diplomatic requests faster than we can process them. 12 different governments want to establish embassies in our solar system. The Proxima Elders have invited humanity to join the Galactic Council as a full member rather than an observer." That was significant. The Galactic Council was the closest thing to a unified government that existed in known space. Membership was reserved for species that could contribute meaningfully to galactic security and stability. For decades, humanity had been allowed only observer status. "What about the Zentari?" Jake asked. Lisa's expression hardened. "Their government has agreed to all our demands. Full reparations for the families of the Peaceful Dawn victims, diplomatic immunity for all, human vessels in their space, and restructuring of their military under galactic supervision. And the other evidence we found? Their attacks on smaller species?" The Galactic Council has launched a full investigation. Turns out the Zentari have been hiding their aggression for decades. 12 different species have come forward with similar stories of unprovoked attacks. The Council is considering removing Zentari membership entirely. Jake felt a deep satisfaction at that news. Justice was being served not just for humanity, but for all the species the Zentari had terrorized. Over the years, "Admiral, there's something else we need to discuss. The technology we revealed during this mission. Other governments are going to want answers about our capabilities." Lisa nodded thoughtfully. "We've been discussing that issue with the Security Council. The decision has been made to share some of our defensive technology with allied species, but our most advanced systems remain classified." "Smart approach," Jake agreed. "Show enough strength to gain respect, but keep enough secrets to maintain our advantage." The conversation ended, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. Through his window, he could see the other ships of the task force maintaining formation as they traveled toward Earth. Each vessel represented years of human engineering and innovation, technologies that had been developed in secret while the galaxy assumed humanity was still primitive. A few hours later, Jake was called to the bridge for an important transmission. Communications Officer Danny Ross had received a message that required the captain's immediate attention. "Sir, we're getting a direct communication from the Proxima Elders. They want to speak with you personally." Jake raised an eyebrow. The Proxima Elders were among the oldest and most respected beings in the galaxy. They rarely spoke directly to anyone below the rank of planetary leader, and they had never initiated direct contact with a human before. Put them through. The main view screen flickered, showing a figure that looked ancient, beyond measure. The Proxima Elder had silver skin that seemed to glow with inner light, and eyes that held the wisdom of countless centuries. When the being spoke, its voice carried the weight of ages. "Captain Morrison, I am Elder Valeth of the Proxima Council. We have observed your recent actions with great interest." Jake straightened his uniform and stepped forward. "Elder Valeth, it is an honor to speak with you." "The honor is ours, Captain. Your species has demonstrated qualities that we had not previously recognized. Restraint combined with overwhelming capability is rare in the galaxy." "We seek only to protect ourselves and our allies," Jake replied carefully. "Indeed, this is why we wish to extend an invitation. Humanity has earned the right to participate fully in galactic governance. We would like Earth to consider accepting a permanent seat on the Galactic Council." The bridge crew exchanged glances of amazement. A permanent seat on the Council was something humanity had dreamed of for decades. It would give Earth equal status with the oldest and most powerful civilizations in known space. "I will convey your generous offer to my government," Jake replied formally. "There is more," the Elder continued. "We would also like to discuss sharing certain technologies that might benefit both our species. The humans have clearly made advances that could help maintain galactic peace." After the transmission ended, Jake stood in stunned silence. In less than 2 weeks, humanity had gone from being dismissed as a minor species to being offered partnership with the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Science Officer Patricia Lee looked up from her station. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting the Sol system. We'll be home in 6 hours." "Excellent," Jake replied. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're returning with news that will change everything." The Guardian and its escort ships continued their journey toward Earth, carrying with them proof that humanity had finally taken its rightful place among the stars. The mission to Zentari Prime had been about more than revenge or justice. It had been about establishing humanity as a power that could no longer be ignored or dismissed. As Earth grew larger on the view screen, Jake reflected on how much had changed since they had left. The galaxy now knew that humans were not the primitive species they had appeared to be. More importantly, they knew that humanity was willing and able to defend itself and its allies against any threat. Lieutenant Kelly Martin announced their approach to Earth's orbital traffic control. Sol System Control is requesting our approach vector. They're giving us priority clearance to Earth orbit. Take us home, Kelly, Jake ordered. The 7 human battleships entered Earth's solar system in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of Sol. Behind them, they left a galaxy that would never again mistake human patience for weakness. The age of humanity as a minor power was over. The age of humanity as a galactic leader had begun. News broadcasts were already carrying reports of their success across Earth's networks. Families of the Peaceful Dawn victims wept with relief that justice had finally been served. Government officials worked frantically to prepare for the diplomatic revolution that was about to begin. In the depths of space, other species watched and learned. The humans had demonstrated something that had been missing from galactic politics for too long: the willingness to back diplomacy with overwhelming force when necessary. Jake Morrison had commanded a single mission, but its effects would ripple through the galaxy for generations. Humanity was no longer asking for respect. They had earned it, one demonstration of power at a time. The Guardian approached Earth orbit, home at last from a mission that had changed the balance of power among the stars. Below them, humanity prepared to take its place as one of the galaxy's great civilizations. The galaxy had held its breath when Earth's battleship entered orbit around Centauri Prime. Now it exhaled in recognition of a new reality. Humanity was here to stay, and the universe would never be the same.